Hi, I'm Nolan, and my case is on FCC versus Pacifica, or the Federal Communications Commission versus the Pacifica Foundation in 1978. The plaintiff in this case is the Federal Communications Commission that was founded on June 19, 1934. The Federal Communications Commission regulates interstate as well as international communications by radio, television, wire, satellite, and cable. They do this in all 50 states, D.C., and U.S. territories. The defendant in this case is the Pacifica Foundation that was founded in 1946. The Pacifica Foundation is a nonprofit organization that owns 5 independently operated, non-commercial, listener-supported radio stations. This monologue was played on a New York radio station, which was owned by the Pacifica Foundation.
George Carlin is responsible for lots of things. Among them, the 7 words you can't say in broadcasting.
I'm a footnote to legal history.
That's
in this
right.
country.
You're in the Supreme Court.
Yes, and I understand in a lot of communications classes and legal classes that case is taught, which is funny because I was a sideline to it. You know, it was a radio station who played my album, and that
was one of the cuts, right?
Yes, it was. The album was Occupation Fool. The cut was called Filthy Words, and one
of the 7 words you can't say
on television.
Nobody even tells you when you're a kid what the words are that you're supposed to avoid. You have to say them to find out which ones they are. Shit! Oh, fuck! That's 2. Oh, Ma, that's enough trial and error, huh?
Now, what is it now? You can say them if they're in context with the sentence? No. You can't at all.
What's happened, Larry, is the worst thing that can happen with free speech, and that is the chilling effect is in progress in the broadcast industry. People are afraid to try certain things. WBAI, who was the company in question with my case, can't play their Ulysses, their thing on James Joyce's birthday every year now, to read Ulysses on the air. They're afraid to try that there'll be, these moral commandos who want us to think their way and want to change what we can hear and see and think in this country are dangerous to our...
In October 1973, a man in the car with his son heard the monologue and filed a complaint to the FCC for the dirty language. The FCC sent Pacifica a letter talking about how they could receive future punishments. They had stated the language that was broadcasted was indecent and could be prohibited by 18 U.S.C. Section 1464, which discourages obscene, indecent, or profane speech. Pacifica then appealed to the District of Columbia Circuit Court of Appeals that ruled 2-1 that the FCC had engaged in improper censorship. FCC then took it to the Supreme Court where they ruled 5-4 in favor of the FCC. Justice John P. Stevens stated that there were 2 reasons to regulate the speech. The sexual speech had lower value and wasn't entitled to as much protection as political speech. It also took place on a broadcast medium that had limited First Amendment protection. The broadcast medium was also easily accessible to children. If the First Amendment protects Robert Paul Cohen from wearing a jacket saying F the draft in a California courthouse in Cohen v. California in 1971, then it should protect a radio station in this case. And instead of obscene, indecent, or profane language, it should be limited to obscene expression, similar to the decision in Hamling v. United States in 1974. Obviously, the application of the First Amendment seems to have been stripped away in this case compared to other cases in the past. The justices that voted in favor of FCC are John P. Stevens, Warren E. Berger, Harry Blackmun, William Rehnquist, and Lewis F. Powell Jr. The justices that voted against FCC are Potter Stewart, William J. Brennan Jr., Byron White, and Thurgood Marshall. The Supreme Court in this case had ruled in favor of the FCC, concluding that the statutory language had empowered the FCC to control the indecent speech. Now, this decision by the Supreme Court had just reaffirmed the notion that the government has a freer hand to regulate broadcast medium compared to other forms of media or social media. I think it was pretty unfair for the Supreme Court to allow the FCC to limit what the radio station could talk about. If the dad didn't like what the guy was saying, then he could have changed or turned off the radio station. I mean, obviously, if it's really bad, then I would agree, but it was just a few curse words. It could just be me, but kids today are being introduced to all kinds of words and things, so a few bad words on the radio station isn't going to ruin this kid's life.